Welcome to the Checking In podcast from the Great Lakes MHTTC, a series discussing topics related to health equity and the destigmatization of substance use disorder and mental illness.
Hello, welcome to today's Checking In podcast. Today we have our guest, Joseph Winford. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Joseph, could you share a little bit about you for our audience?
Sure. A quick snippet would be is that I've been in social service for a number of years. I started out working in child welfare, and after that, worked with youth and violence prevention and youth who are challenged with educational settings, traditional education settings, that is. And then I went on to substance abuse counseling and then mental health. So I've been doing substance abuse for 20 plus years, and mental health probably for the last 15 years, and just in social service for about 25 years or so.
Wow, has been a long time. Thank you for your services. So, if you will describe your work in one word, which one you think is the best one that describe what you do?
That's a very difficult question, but I'll put it like this. I would say I am a transformation agent.
Wow. Do you want to explain about that?
Sure, because it encompasses counseling, training, and development. Because what I work to do is help people become whole. So whether it's counseling, with mental health, substance abuse, or trauma, whether it's training, I am training individuals in the field to develop skills and implement evidence-based practices. At the end of the day, it's all about transforming individuals to become whole, healthy, and increase their capacity to work in the field.
Oh, great. What do you consider to be the most important aspect of your work as a trauma-informed therapist, as a SUD counselor?
I would say guiding and walking people through the process of healing from trauma, also guiding them through the process of being able to complete this life journey in terms of becoming whole and healthy.
As a therapist or counselor, we need to take some time to practice some self-care. And the work that we do is kind of like really hard emotionally speaking. Could you share some of the practices that you do to take care of yourself?
One of my practices that I disconnect. It's very difficult to leave work at work because of the kind of work that we do, working in whether it's child welfare, substance abuse, mental health, all of those things have a tendency to just weigh on you. So I had to learn how to disconnect. And one of the ways I disconnect is by reading and sometimes watching comedy. And so if I can get a chance to laugh, I get a chance to forget, and I stay in that moment. So the second thing I do is I try to practice mindfulness, stand in the moment of where I'm at without allowing myself to be pulled or redirected mentally, emotionally to a client situation or to something else that's maybe uncomfortable for me to deal with. Because a lot of what we do, we experience a lot of vicarious or secondary trauma. And so I have to make sure I practice not carrying that particular trauma with me throughout my day and my weekend. So I try to stay mindful with my circle of friends and having that support system.
Thank you for sharing, Joseph, and also thinking that as counselors, clinicians, and trauma therapists, we face a lot of challenges and things that takes in the way of practicing self-care. What are the things that sometimes influence in how you practice self-care. Sometimes it could be time. For other people, could be that I have so much work.
I think it's a number of things that impact how we utilize our self-care time. One of the things is that sometimes it's what we believe about ourselves. Sometimes as a counselor, we find it very difficult to ask for help. So sometimes we won't reach out for help or receive help because when we're trying to get help, we start to condemn ourselves, or we feel like people are going to condemn us. I know for me early on is that when I was in the field, sometimes I didn't know how to ask for help. Even with clinical supervision, we will always focus on a client, but sometimes with clinical supervision, we have to also check in with that individual, making sure that their mental health and they are emotionally present and they are comfortable where they're at. Because if my capacity or my emotional cup is empty, then I can't be present fully for the clients that I serve. So I think that contributes to my need and desire always to do training, because I know the individuals in the field, especially if you've been in the field any number of time, a number of years, you'll find yourself experiencing some form of burnout or disconnection. So I think it's very important that we look at our reasons or our own belief systems when it comes to practicing self-care. And number two is making sure we develop a self-care routine. For me, working out is one of my key indicators of me working on my own self-care. So when I find myself not working out on a consistent basis because I'm trying to get to work earlier, to complete more case notes, complete more clients, and to do those things, it's an indication that I'm not taking care of me first. Because if I have not worked out, taken time to eat, and experience healthy support systems from friends and family, then chances are what I have done is slowly start to get into a negative pattern of burnout and also no self-care or lack of self-care, which is what oftentimes people do in the field, especially because of all the requirements as well as healthcare funding requirements and objectives we have to meet. It becomes very difficult.
Thank you. I love what you said about asking for help and also developing the self-care routine. I think that is really helpful for our audience, because as a clinicians, right, we are there helping others, but it's really, really hard to ask for help when we need it. Are there any last recommendation that you can share with our audience, Joseph?
One of the things I would say is definitely get your support system. Look at your own circle. Develop a circle around you that can be honest with you, that you can receive feedback from. Number two, I would always say continue to develop who you are. You know, I'm an avid reader, so I'm always reading a book. My daughter asked me, what did I want for Father's Day? I told her, give me 2 books. She's like, well, I'm going to send you something. I'm going to have you send you some food. I don't want no food. Give me a couple of books. And so that works for me because it was an opportunity for me to continue to work on me, to develop me, and to escape. And I think it's very beneficial. If we're going to be in this field, we have to fill our own emotional, intellectual, and relationship cups in order for us to be effectively available for the clientele that we serve.
100%. Thank you for sharing that recommendations. I think this is going to be so helpful for other clinicians that are listening to our podcast. So I want to say thank you for your time, Joseph, and for sharing with us your wisdom.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
The Checking In podcast is produced by the Great Lakes Mental Health Technology Transfer Center with funding from cooperative agreements with SAMHSA. We encourage you to connect with the Great Lakes ATTC, MHTTC, and PTTC on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube to discover many more free products and resources just like this.